So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hiban. All right, Rockstar Nation, I have a great returning guest, Karen Briscoe, award-winning and best-selling author of Real Estate in 5 Minutes a Day, she's been on here twice before, but she's got some new and exciting stuff that we're going to talk about with her team and get an update from her on things. And anyways, we're going to find out how she is doing so well in McLean, Virginia, where she's a full-time agent there and with a rocking team and everything else. So anyways, without further ado, Karen, welcome back to Real Estate Rockstars.
Hey, Pat, it's always a pleasure. You have been one of my mentors in the real estate business ever since I met you when I read your book and heard you speak on the 7 steps to 6 figures or 6 steps to 7 figures. Which one is it? 6 steps to 7 figures. Yeah, we all want 7 figures.
7 figures, right?
Yes, and that was inspirational.
Is chump change, right?
Yeah, anybody can do that. Well, if you can't do that, you shouldn't be in the business, right?
Well, good. Well, listen. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little about first of all, what's going on in your world? How are book sales with Real Estate in 5 Minutes a Day?
Well, so the audio version came out toward the end of 2017, which was very exciting because it allows people then to listen, because some people, are auditory folks. And so it allows them to listen to the one, in less than 5 minutes, listen to their one tip on lead generation or consulting or building a business or a success principle. And so that's exciting. And then right at the end of 2016 or 2017, gosh, which year are we on? Launched 18. The book. Now we're on 18, but at the end of last year, this committee at leads, because it all starts with the lead, right, Pat?
Yeah.
And you have to have a lead for everything you do.
It's directly proportional to the number of buyers or number of sellers, directly proportional. The number of sales, directly proportional to the number of settlements. So. For sure. Absolutely.
It all starts with the lead. And so the great thing about this is it's a 66-day challenge. So there's a lot of studies, research has been done on habit formation, and 66 days as being one of the key metrics that is proclaimed in a lot of research. And so we took 66 tips, strategy stories, and created this great little handbook. So if you just want to jumpstart your business, and like you said, we all started with a lead. So that's how we came out with that. It's all about the lead.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about your leads. First of all, tell me about your business there in McLean, Virginia. Like, how many houses did you sell last year?
Well, so we are pretty typically at about 100 a year. And so we have a price point of around 750, 800,000. We're kind of in the higher, brackets, being in McLean, right outside of Washington, D.C. metro area, even though we do all price ranges, but it does tend to average out about that. So we're running steady, year after year. And I'd say, that's one of the signs of being a pro, right? I mean, a one-hit wonder does it once, and a pro does it, over and over again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so what's your ego commission income on that, Karen? What's your total gross there?
Oh, well, the gross is running in the close to $2 million.
$2 million ECI. And then what's your net profit on that?
Well, it's about a 50-50. We have a lot of expenses.
So you pull $1 million out of that thing net.
Yes. Well, that's it. That's what we call it. Why we call it $1 million millionaire real estate agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay. So how many years you been doing that, do you think?
So residential, I started in 2002. So last year, put me at 15 years. I had done commercial before. So
that's interesting. So you went from commercial to residential.
Yes. Well, it doesn't happen very often. I was in commercial right out of college and did residential lot development, actually, for a developer in Texas, Trammell Crow. And I love development, but my husband's career moved us to the D.C. area, and then stayed home and raised our children for predominantly as the primary caregiver for a number of years. when I went to enter the workforce in 2001, I did go back to commercial, and I went to the Staubach company, had the Nextel account, and did the sales, engineering, and warehouse offices. And to be quite honest, Pat, I found it to be very boring. I mean, really, you've seen one sales, engineering, warehouse office. I mean, I'm telling you, you've seen them all.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people love commercial because it is more analytical and unemotional. And some people love residential because it is more, dramatic and more, more excitement.
Well, more relationship driven.
More relationship. Yeah, right.
Yes. And that is what I found, the component that I have, putting the two together. And you and I have kind of chatted about that before. You could call it the hard and soft side, or you could say, the left and the right brain or whatever. Yeah. But I like the combination. The beauty of being in residential is you do get involved in people's lives. Now, sometimes people's lives are complicated and they're messy. And a lot of times it happens when they're buying and selling real estate. Because I'm sure you've heard of the I call it the stressometer, but there's a chart that has the rankings of stress. And so death, divorce, even positive stress, like having children, or positive things.
Yeah, you're stressed no matter what.
Right. Yeah. But those are often when people are buying and selling a home, and even buying and selling a home is on that, and moving is on that. And so it gives us an opportunity to get a relationship with people and help them with a critical decision. And so that's the one thing I found. So I really felt like when I entered residential, and also was successful pretty quickly, but I found that I really enjoyed the relationship aspect to it.
That is so cool. Now, tell me about the market now in Northern Virginia. You're real close to Washington, D.C. What's your market like? Buyer's market, seller's market? What are you dealing with?
Well, so I call it a tale of two markets, Pat, because it has to do with price point a lot. So in is the lower brackets for our area, so the conforming loan amount, those price points are selling very quickly. It's very much a robust seller's market because there's just more buyers. I mean, we have, 75% of the market is that. So, you have more people that are capable. And then the overall year, I just did the stats for 2017, is up year over year over 2016 by 11%. And
okay, wait a minute. What does that mean? The number
in terms of number of transactions.
See, that's the key metric there, is number of transactions, right? All the rest is BS, because you don't know when they throw in builders and stuff like that kind of start from day one at X price. It throws off the average sale price, whether houses are actually rising in value or not. And so the real number is the number of units, and if the number of units is up by 12%, that's huge.
It is, and I also use a benchmark year because our peak market years were, in terms of number of sales, which I think it was across the board, was the 05-06 years, right? And so then 07 started to soften, and then 08 was the year of the crash. 09 was another year of correction. Interestingly enough, using the benchmark year of a decade ago, which was 2007 compared to 2017 closed out, it was actually 2017 was up 30%. So that is a key metric.
Wait a minute. So you're up 30% unit
number
wise.
Of sales. Yes.
Well, what about 12 years ago? Do you know that number? Or like if
you mean against 2005? It's definitely not
7
up
was
there
down.
Yet. Yeah, we're definitely not up there. So
you're definitely not to that level again.
We're not, and I
because that was a crazy level.
And
4 and 5 to me were like just buck wild as far as transactional.
And I actually am not sure that's ever going to happen again. I mean, I do think it was a market anomaly, because if you look at the data, what we have goes all the way back 40 years, and so if you look back all the data over 40 years, in this market area we had 5 years double-digit appreciation, and that it's truly not sustainable, because there was only a couple of other times where we had a 2-year and a 3-year, but never 5, and 2 of those years were 20% plus. So it really wasn't sustainable, and I think anybody who was rational recognized that. But the good news is that our market is not experiencing what it did when it went through that, because at that time it was for our area, the buildup of Homeland Security and easy lending and all those things that are more not as sustainable.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you could think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now.
And so
wait a minute, slow it down. So, okay. So, you've had this buildup of Homeland Security, as you have with a lot of federal government contracted agencies throughout the DC area, right?
Yes.
The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, all that stuff, right? You're seeing now a slowdown in that buildup, a shrinkage of government, or we're pulling out, we've pulled out of our wars. Tell me about what you're seeing in the future based on what the government is doing.
Well, and I'm really not a political commentator, so I'm not going to really get into that. What I saw from the real estate market is that we had a lot of people moving into the area, and 9/11 was what triggered it. And then the response of the lending environment to be very, friendly to, home ownership. And so there were a lot of people that were getting into buying homes that probably, well, looking back, shouldn't have been, right? That's why we had the crash. I had somebody ask me one time, well, I want to buy a house, in 2009 when it was crashing, when you could get a short sale or foreclosure. I'm like, well, we would have to have a run up to have a crash. So I would rather just have more normal markets or sustainable, steady growth than to have a run up to then have to have a crash. Roller coasters are not.
Well, 11% increase in transactions is
good.
I hate to tell you that.
It's strong. And whenever you start seeing double digit appreciation, which is our first time there was only
is it
one
more
other.
Expensive to buy a house? Like if I bought a house in 2006, can I sell that same exact house that I bought in 2006 for more money?
Well, that goes back to the tale of two markets. So where it shifts, is when you get into the upper brackets. And with the new tax reform, I think the upper brackets are going to have more correcting. So why? Because you can't leverage as much. So when you go from $1 million as being...
What do you mean you can't leverage as much?
Okay, well, so when somebody takes out a mortgage for $1 million, before they could write off interest expense up to $1 million.
Yep.
Now that with the new tax legislation that's out, the way I understand it is that you can only write off up to $750,000. So you've lost $250,000 of leverage. Now, in real numbers,
and I think your taxes are capped.
Correct. Your property taxes.
What is that? 10,000?
Yeah. So in
if you buy a house for $2 million, your property taxes are what? 25 grand a year over there?
Probably. Yeah. It's at least
so you got
10 to 12 for $1 million. Yeah.
That's no longer tax deductible.
Yes. So, the real, I think that is where we're going to see some softening or some correcting or some compression, if you will, because if you asked me in 2006, would you be able to, did you sell in 2017 for the same. If you were under $1 million, you probably sold it for more or paid more. If you're over $1 million, many of those markets are still not back up to peak levels. And I don't anticipate appreciation occurring because of the most recent tax reform.
Ever?
Well, I mean, never is a long time. No, I just mean in the near
if
future.
I bought a house in 2006 for $2 million.
It's 11 years, 12 years later.
12 years later, let's say it's worth 1.8, right? And I call you and say, Karen, if I rate, am I ever going to be able to sell this for $3 million or $2.5 million, or should I just sell it now because this is probably the most I'll ever get? What would you say?
Well, I would say that you should buy and sell houses that you're living in because that's where you want to live and that's what works for your family. And so to consider it as an investment or to be making money on it is not really what I think is the purpose of housing, residential housing. So that would be my first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that it takes a lot longer. You get into what I call the law of large numbers. It just takes a lot longer for upper brackets to recover. And a couple of things happen along the way. One is in our area, we're having a lot of infill. So they're tearing down older homes because the land is more valuable than the house, and they're building new homes. And as long as there's new product coming on the market, it's just like the new car smell, right? People would rather have new than they would a 20-year-old home that's got tired bathrooms and, dated kitchen, and the floor plan isn't, up to modern. And so what happens is they're competing against new. And unless the seller or homeowner has been very proactive and consistently been updating and keeping their home up to market standards, they probably will, at the very best case, break even in the upper brackets. So it's a completely different, again, market as you shift to the higher.
Is the governments, whether it's county government, city government, state, is anybody getting their fingers in there and trying to limit the infills?
Well, in our market, yes. I mean, there certainly are requirements that the builder has to make in terms of, the height restrictions and the area of the land that they use for impervious or, the buildable footprint and, any kind of driveways and that kind of thing that takes up.
So there's things they got to go through.
Yes, they do that.
But they're not putting a stop to it.
No, I mean, if you think about it from a county perspective, I mean, if you build a more expensive home, then you can tax it higher,
collect more taxes. So
so that is
they don't do it. Yeah.
Right. At some point, the thing is there's a demand for it, right? So as long as there's a demand, right, and builders are in the business of building homes, and they inside the Beltway or the closer to a city center you are. I mean, that's why you see gentrification. That's why you see, any redevelopment is because there's a demand. I think there's more of a push towards, urban, the whole walkability, the more work-life, play kind of location than the suburban. I really think that the suburban has changed over the last 20 to 25 years. And we have some areas of our market, and I don't think we're unique in this way, that aren't as in demand because they're on larger lots, require more maintenance. And we have, the other thing we have happening, Pat, is this demographic shift. So
tell me about that.
Well, so the baby boomers, those that were born after World War II, 50s, 60s, early, I guess mostly 50s, 60s.
1965 plus. Yeah.
Right. So those folks are retiring or hitting those ages where they're doing the downsize, right size. They don't need the big home anymore that they raised their family on. Many of them want the urban lifestyle. That's what, I'm seeing. And then the next demographic down, the Generation Xers, there's about 10 million less of them. So even if every single one of them wanted to buy one of the baby boomers' big houses, there's not enough.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
And then the next generation, the millennials, they're actually about 10 million more than the baby boomers. So that's where our tsunami's coming from. I mean, when they start buying real estate, and they are, I have 2 millennials in my life, and both my children have bought houses because they mother real estate, so they should buy a house. Yeah. But as they buy real estate, but they're not buying an upper bracket home. I mean, unless you have a random tech, prodigy, but as a general rule, they're not ready to buy the upper bracket home. And I don't think they want the upper bracket home. I don't think they want the large home on the large lot. At least as of right now, that's what they're saying. So we have a long time before we get to them. And so we have this, kind of a double force happening at the same time. We have too much of the larger home upper bracket product relative to demand, and then we have less people to buy them, and so I see long term that the possibility of appreciation is pretty low.
Okay, so what are you doing now to get those homes sold? Because here's a funny situation, right? There's all these people that they know at work and that they communicate with, and they're like, oh, I sold my house in 3 hours, had 15 showings, right? Of course the house was selling, for an average sale price, right? But then they have an upper end house, 3 times the price of their coworker, and they put it on the market. Nobody looks at it. Like, how do you, as their agent, how are you handling that? What are you using in case anyone else out there is experiencing the same thing?
Well, a lot of empathy. Feel, felt, found. We're very honest with them, even at the listing appointment, almost to the point that sometimes they think we don't want the business. I mean, I err on those listings. I err on the side of being very conservative, because what I found is that if I am too optimistic, then it doesn't happen, and then they're mad at me, right? When in fact it's the market.
Yeah, I think I had an agent on the show that said, I asked her if there was some sort of special script that she uses to deal with sellers in a situation like this, and she said, no, essentially what she said is, no, I just give them a price that they don't like. And then they don't use me. You know what I mean? Like, instead of going through some arduous process with them that could take months and it may not sell at all, and instead of getting them mad at her for over-promising and under-delivering and this, that, and the other thing, she just really politely gives them really realistically what it's going to take to sell, like the neighbors or like the other people in the zip code that are a third of the cost, and meaning that fast, right? If everyone's selling in 30 days, she gives them a 30-day price. Then if they don't list with her, then she's okay with it. I mean, is that what?
Well, that's the classic firstborn, second wife, third realtor, right? Because I mean, if you're honest with them, and then they go with somebody who gives them that price, and then they come back to you and they go, okay, you really were honest. And so, I guess I would rather be known for my honesty than known for my puffery. At the same time, though, I mean, I am an optimistic person, and I do want to believe that I can achieve the highest dollar. And I tell them that. I'm like, well, gosh, don't you think I want to get the most for your house? Because then I get to tell everybody I got the highest price for your neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah, so, and you hate to publicly say this, but at the end of the day, if you have a luxury property or a couple of really high priced properties, you're going to get buyers in that price range.
You can. It's not as likely as the more flippin' burgers price point. They usually have agents, so they're very savvy people. But yes, it does happen, and I am predominantly a luxury agent, and so I'm just sharing with you some of the things. I do think the script feel, felt, found is a classic. So I understand how you might feel that is what your house should sell for. Other sellers, have felt that way before. What we have found is the market study. We'll listen to the market, we'll respond accordingly. Those that listen to the market are the ones that get their homes sold. And also, you can use some other scripting along the lines of, how many showings they should anticipate. Because if the entire market for that price point is 6 houses, that when you have 6 showings, you've seen the market. And sometimes they don't realize that 6 showings may take 3 or 4 months, right? Because, and so then if you want to, be a little bit more expeditious in it, then price has, the biggest impact, because price, the whole world finds out about the price. I mean, I can, jump up and down in all sorts of ways in terms of marketing, and, we could do staging, or we could do new photos or whatever, but the price is what gets everybody the hit, that hit on their phones or emails or whatever, right?
Price is everything.
The ding. It makes the ding. It makes the ding. So
we don't want to admit it, but price is everything, and especially in a slower market, right? Which in the higher end it is,
And there could be a strategy as well as to being priced the best, on the market, so you're the next one that sells. I mean, some people can stomach that, where they're like, I'm going to price it right at market instead of trying to, leave room for negotiations. And that can create some, even in the upper brackets, I've had it happen where, that if it's priced really well, the market recognizes that and responds accordingly. So
I really wonder, I was thinking about this the other day. Tell me what you think about this. Every year that goes by, the Zillow's estimate, the Redfin algorithms, the pricing, the online public pricing of houses gets better and better and better. They just hone the skills. Millions of dollars go into how to price a house, right? I wonder if someday you're going to have pricing online that's just pretty close to dead on, right? Like you could just go online for free and figure out what your pricing is, and then you really won't need an agent to come and give you their dog and pony show. You could do it all online, and agents will bid on the listing just like lenders bid for your business on lendingtree.com, right? The same way, or I use 99 Designs for any design work. I've used it like 6 times, and I say what I want, and I have like 30 bidders go up there and bid on making me a design. And I do the same thing for Upworks, where I need someone to create a project or do a project and have all these people bidding on it. I just wonder if the agents, real estate agents, listing agents, will just be bidding on it. Oh, I'll do it for X commission, and I'll advertise you here, here, and here. I'll do it for Y commission, advertise you here, here, and here. You do a bid online, and the price is the price. Right now, we've, as agents, have always had the ability to get the seller to believe that if they interview 3 different agents, they're going to get 3 different prices. And I just wonder if that's going to go away.
Well, that's interesting, because when I ask people about other agents that they've interviewed, I frequently get, maybe ranges, but I don't know if I get the exact same thing. I think that the more the property is a commodity, then the more accurate Zillow
the prices,
right?
So,
right.
In a seller's market. I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you could think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. because a house sold next door that's exact same builder, exact same model within the last 30 days, probably.
It's pretty accurate. I would like to think, though, that there's a lot of services that real estate agents offer other than pricing. I mean,
I'm generalizing, but it's
there's a lot of negotiation skills that go into the contract and just managing the process. From
You're just protecting your commission now, right?
Well, of course I am, because I do believe it, Pat. Because really, if it was true, or I'm just projecting out as the way you said, if it was true that it was all about the price, then why do some agents get stronger prices than other agents?
Yes. I don't know. And I'm just throwing that out there for debate purposes, but I don't know. I mean, it's just interesting. It's just an interesting thing and to watch, but let's flip gears for a minute.
Yes.
Let's talk about the price range that is hot, your sweet spot, right? Your sweet spot, seller's market. You have limited listings. What are you and your team doing now to get listings?
So one thing I'm really excited about right now is reevaluate. Have you heard about that?
No.
Okay, so it's predictive analytics, and it's predictive analytics for my own list. So it's
okay. So is this a service you pay for?
Yes.
What if someone listening wants to go there? What is it? Reevaluate.com or?
Correct. That should be evaluate. It's the word evaluate with an R in front of it.
Okay. Reevaluate.
There you go. And it's in Colorado. So I visited with Chris Dreyer on my own podcast, 5 Minute Success. And so I became one of his test cases. And the fascinating thing about it is that, I've always been kind of doing my own predictive analytics. I see when somebody's, young adults are leaving off for college or graduating from college, or the baby comes, into the is announced on Facebook, or, these indicators of when people are likely to make a move or consider making a move. The interesting thing about the predictive analytics of it is that, first of all, I can only watch Facebook so much, right? I mean, the predictive analytics is watching it all the time.
So wait a minute. So they're going into Facebook.
Well, I'm not quite sure where they get it. They don't tell us how they determine.
Secret recipe.
Yeah, their secret
recipe. But let's
recipe.
just say it's Facebook.
Let's say it's Facebook.
It's everything. Everything.
It's Amazon. It's the way their behavior is, and you have to have their email address. And so that's however way they find out this information, but they do. But the fascinating thing is that it has put, I'm sure you heard of, Wayne Gretzky's quote, to go where the puck is going. Okay. Yes. So where is the puck going in my business is, who are the ones that are going to be moving and to get in their trajectory before they really start making real estate decisions and making sure that I'm staying in touch with them. And we have quite a few ways that we stay in touch with past clients in our sphere and our market area, but this is a more in their pathway. And I found it to be really a phenomenal way of reconnecting and reaching out to our sphere, our past clients, the folks that we have in our database. And it's very compelling when you get that, it's kind of like the dig, you get that lead coming in, but it's not a lead that you're paying for or that it's from a lead service. It's actually someone
Yeah. So you don't miss it and be like, how come they didn't list with me? So just to paint a clear picture, you give them a list. Let's say you've got, let's just say you got 500 emails. You give them 500 emails and they're going to tell you what, the top 20%, the top 100, or the top.
So they give you a percentage of the move score. So if somebody has an 80% plus move score, they're likely to be moving, within a certain period of time. I'm not quite sure what it is.
That's pretty cool. So then you go through your list and you call everybody. Obviously, if someone has a 9 or 10, right? You're calling them like that day. 8, 7, 6. You're just calling them by score, knocking the 10s first and the 9s and the 8s and the 7s. And just checking in. Hey, you doing?
Yes. And the fascinating thing is, I kind of can do my own predictive analytics because I know who's got, kids that are a certain age and where they may be on the what I call the bell curve of, the life cycle of housing, wherever they are on it. But this is, I've been proactive about staying in my clients, but this is much more purposeful about being in that trajectory. It's the best way I can describe it. And so we have really seen a great response. We don't tell them we're doing predictive analytics on them, but we just say, I was just touching base because I was thinking about you. I saw that, John and Courtney got engaged, and just wondering if, maybe they're thinking about making a move, and how could we help? Or is it, you're all considering downsizing. You can have a real estate conversation while at the same time checking in with them. And it really has increased our lead generation in a very new and unique way.
Yeah. And I imagine, also it gives you some sort of confidence level.
That is so true. That is a really good point to make, because before I would be reaching out to people thinking, okay, well, you probably are in that trajectory, but now I know they're in that trajectory. And so, yeah, I feel like
it's sort of like someone giving you like an inside scoop, like Mary and Joe are getting divorced. Don't tell them I told you, but you should call them. And so when you call them, you feel so much stronger about, the call. Where if you just called them out of the blue and you didn't know they were getting divorced, you'd be all, knot in your stomach, and, you wouldn't want, you know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, they're an 8. I need to be
reaching out. And again, it creates an urgency on my part, because when a lead hits my inbox, I'm like going, oh my gosh, that person moved up in their move score. I need to be,
does it do that?
Yes. Oh yeah. It'll tell you when it's going towards a higher move score.
Really?
Yes. Oh yeah. So you could get the same one several times. So
what does it cost to get this service?
It's a per number of emails, and I think it's a per month fee. But
Awesome.
I have found it to be really, again, because I am predominantly the type of agent who works from my sphere and past clients and referrals, it has increased that, which is my sweet spot of my business. So it has increased that segment of my business.
Yeah, never have to worry about a past client using another agent again.
You shouldn't have to, because you're touching them at the right, point in there where they are in the process. Yeah.
And somebody like you, you've got past clients, galore. So, for you to be able to keep track of them all and try to guess who, some of these people you probably sold houses to 20 years ago,
Well, that's a challenge. It really is true. The challenge with that is that 20 years ago they didn't have email addresses. So it really is also impressed upon me, Pat, how important it is to have a very clean database. That has come out. And then the other thing that has come out of this is that I think I've talked about this, is we have a charity event we do on a monthly basis, dinner, and we've been collecting email addresses and addresses all this time, and we send them some marketing pieces. But this is really a new way we can touch them, because now that we have their email addresses, we actually find out when they're in the move trajectory. And so that is another segment we're going after. Whereas before we were just, and we still do the charity events because we want to get back to our community, and we live here and we work here, but we have found a way to make a real estate opportunity out of that. So that's another aspect that I didn't think about at the time, but has come forth in the last 6 months to a year.
I love that one. I love that one. And guys, I'm going to put that on hibandigital.com/Karen Briscoe and the number 3. That's Karen Briscoe. OE is how you finish Briscoe. And the number 3, because this is her 3rd time on the show. And Karen, as you know, everybody that comes on the show brings with them a free gift. And what we do with this gift is we put it on your show notes, which I just mentioned, which I will do along with the evaluate link. And I will also put it in the Agent Success Toolbox on Rebus University, which is at hibandigital.com/Karen toolbox. That's hibandigital.com/toolbox, or call or text 444-999 and put in the word toolbox. So you had said you're going to give everybody a 5-minute success quick start. Tell me what that is.
Well, so the book, Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, which is how you and I reconnected when I wanted to chat with you about writing this book, that I had this idea. So it's designed to be a daily reader, and that means that every day you invest 5 minutes to your success with a takeaway. So the quick start will get you jump started into it. And we found that when people, build a habit of reading, and that they are, readers are leaders. And also you've shared that in your book and messages as well. So to invest in your personal and business development every day, and this will get you started on that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, look forward to reading that myself. So I'm going to put all of Karen's information in her show notes, and I'll put links to both of her books in there as well. And Karen, listen, thanks for coming on. And next time I'm up in McLean, Virginia area, I will look you up and we'll break some bread.
Let's do that. And here's to your success, Pat.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you for watching Real Estate Rockstars. Please give us a review wherever you're watching or wherever you're listening. We eat feedback for breakfast, and I don't care whether you give me a 1-star review or a 5-star review. I just want the review. I want to know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Would love to improve things. Hey, and listen, please subscribe. The more subscribers we get and the more reviews we get, the better guests we'll get for you in the future. Feel free to reach out to me anywhere on social media. Just type in my name. I'm everywhere, and I look forward to meeting you in the digital world. Have a great day, and thanks again for listening to Real Estate Rockstars.